Regrets are holding you back on such a high level, and it's preventing you from not just living in the present, but also really learning and making changes. So those regrets are no longer regrets, they're just lessons. But that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to episode 107 of the Positivity Experience. Let's change some of those regrets. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 107 of the Positivity Experience. It is your girl, Lori, and man, do I got a show for you today, because we are going to talk about regrets. And if you listen to last week's episode on resentments, you'll see how they kind of play hand in hand. Now, if you are on Patreon, we are talking about emotional eating, and in that Patreon, there is a PDF that is a worksheet for you to have that's going to really help you when you're coping with emotional eating. So if you're on Patreon, you got it. It goes up the same time. If you're new here, I do have a Patreon, and you're welcome to go over and join it if you choose. It's patreon.com/the positivity experience, and you can find that there. But today we're talking about emotional eating. So I want to give a huge shout out to all of the newest Patreon members, and now you know what we're talking about over there. I want to talk to you about regrets, baby, because your girl no longer has them. That's right, you heard me. And I've done some really crappy things and been through some really crappy experiences, and you can't do anything about them. This is where that radical acceptance is going to come into play. And, you know, some people will say, well, having regrets is good because it keeps you. No. The regrets going to lessons is phenomenal. Regrets living as regrets, not good. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about them. Because, and I know some of you do this because most of us have. It's funny because one of the reasons this came up is I was talking about it in my book that I'm writing. And I was like, ooh, I feel like this is a good topic because I hear so many people say, oh, I could have done this. I would have done that. I should have done that. Or if I would have known then what I know now. Oh my God. Yeah, that is so non-acceptant, and that is ego. You know everything is going to come down to ego, and you not accepting and you resisting the acceptance is always going to be ego. I don't care that you struggle because of the anxiety piece or the depression piece of it. We know that that's going to make it a little bit more challenging, but accepting it, there's no magic pill. There's no magic, well, how do I do it? You get very clear that it is what it is. It doesn't matter that you could have done something different. You didn't. You should have done this. You didn't. Well, if you could go back, you can't. Right? So regrets are not healthy if you're ruminating in all of the things that you could have done, should have done, wish that you would have seen differently. There's no lesson there to be learned because you're not seeing it. You're not going, okay, wow. Ooh, I really did not do great that day. That was not very good. Definitely don't want to do that again. You take what the lesson is. Because see, you have to have that self-compassion. The problem with regrets that stay regrets is you don't have any self-compassion. You're literally judging yourself. You're throwing yourself like under the bus at all times, saying how bad you are, how, you know, or you do the things where you're like, how stupid could I be? I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I'm so stupid. Why did I allow that? Oh, because you have the knowledge now. You do realize that you're looking at it in hindsight and saying, look at all of this like stuff that I know that I should have done different. Okay, good. So take that going forward. Take that going forward. See, it's not a regret anymore. Regrets and staying in regret is not healthy. Any way you spin it, it's not serving a purpose. It is not healthy. It's creating so much animosity. Your chakras are all going to be messed up, and we're going to talk about where it lives in your body and what that would even feel like and why you want to release those regrets from a health perspective. This isn't even just about mental health. This is also about your physical health. Because if you're living in rumination, you are creating, do you hear me? You are creating more health issues in your life. So then you go, well, I have health anxiety. Well, then we're going to have to calm you down. You're going to have to do some serious radical acceptance here. You know, and remember, one of the big things to remember is you are a human being. I do not care how perfect you think that you should be. It's never going to happen. Because perfection is not real. It will never be real. And perfection does not carry a benchmark, right? So if I say to you, let me give you an example. If I say to you, hey, the sun is out, right? Well, that's a fact. You can see that. The sun is out. Yep, the sun is out. But to sit there with yourself and go, oh my God, if I'd have done this differently, it could have been better. Well, it could have. It also could not have. So now you're sitting there and you're not even looking at something as fact. The sun being out, fact. You can see it. It's tangible. You know it's there. You don't get to say, well, if I'd have done this differently, my life would have been better. Nope, because you don't know that. So the regret piece of that not only goes into, oh my God, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I wish I'd have known what I know, but it also gives you no sense of self-love, number one. And it's like, well, I guess in some weird way, you're like, well, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve something good. I don't somehow deserve it because look at all the crappy things I did. Okay, and what are you going to do about it? Any way you spin it, what has happened is happened. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care how good it is. I don't care how neutral it is. It just is. So you sitting there and saying, well, I live in regret, so I know that if I have regrets, I'm not going to do it again. That's not learning a lesson. You can say, I didn't like this. You go back and you go, wow, okay, I didn't have the tools then, or, ooh, I would definitely make a different decision going forward. Now we're utilizing that regret and changing that into a lesson, in turn, no longer keeping that as a regret. Okay, oh, I regret doing that. Okay, it's done. Okay, so any way you spin that, you're going to have to get very clear that you know you haven't learned from a regret if you're ruminating on it. If you're like, wow, that really sucked. Like, and you'll see about it in the book. You'll be like, wow, that was a lot. Yep, it was. It is what it is. Me regretting it does what? It's self-loathing. It creates more problems for myself. So I can take it as a lesson and go, wow, okay, I feel good about myself because yeah, I kind of didn't do great there, but I know going forward I will. Okay, so there's a few reasons why you're living in that regret. So I want to unbox them for you. One, you're not allowing your feelings. You're not allowing your feelings at all. You're saying, oh, well, I can't have this. Oh, this is bad. No, you can have your feelings. But always be clear that your feelings and your thoughts are not facts and they will never be facts. Your feelings are your perspectives and your perceptions, and they move and change like an ocean wave, right? Your perspective changes. Like hopefully your perspective at 20 is going to be different at 50, right? So there's a shift. So you got to allow your feelings. If you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for doing this. That's okay. Feel it, process it, learn from it. What could you have done differently? Or not, oh my God, why didn't I? Just, oh, okay. Well, now I have more knowledge in this because a lot of those tools you didn't even have. You're judging yourself based on some position that you didn't, A, put yourself in, or B, know how to get out of. But maybe you do now because you see what doesn't work. Do you see what I'm saying? But allow the feelings. That's where you process it in the negative journal. The 5 journals is going to be your best friend. Go right on out to my YouTube under playlists. Look at the 5 journal series. Do not tell me you don't have time to do 5 journals. You have time to be miserable. You have time to scroll on social media. You have time to invest in yourself. And your consistency is going to give you consistent results. And it allows you a space to really process your feelings. Okay, because that's going to be really helpful. So once you allow yourself to start feeling your feelings, now we're on the road of changing that regret into a really good life lesson. Okay, that's step 1. Okay, well, there's like 8, so bear with me here. Okay, now, obsessing over it. You got to knock that off. Okay, when you're obsessing over what you could have done, should have done, and you're reliving this. Okay, so we know if you find that you're obsessing a lot, you want to talk to your doctor. They may want to do like an OCD screening on you, right? Or if you have high anxiety, things like that. We know that there's a reason that can be worse in some people, not an excuse, okay? But it can be worse. So we want to treat that piece of it if it becomes problematic. But obsessing on it, you aren't learning the lesson. You're purposefully, unintentionally, not learning the lesson. You're not. All you're looking at is, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? You're not living your life. And until you can accept that I don't care what you've done and what has been done to you, do you hear me? It has happened. It is done. You have to process it. That's why processing your trauma, processing your feelings, processing how you respond to things, right? That the processing and learning to process is your responsibility. So obsessing over what could have been done differently, you are never giving yourself the opportunity to see what the lesson is because you're so let's call it regret blinded. You're regret blinded. You're like, all you can focus on is, and then you play the storylines. Like now you're a Stephen King novel writer and you're playing out storylines. If I'd have done this would have been different. And why didn't I do this? And why am I not enough? And now you've allowed the one thing to spiral you out of control because you're obsessing on it. And you're not taking a step back to process your feelings, like number one, and you're obsessing over something that is not going to give you any resolve because you're choosing to not see it when we're sitting in an obsession. Okay, now that's two. Now, number three, are you sitting there blaming somebody? Are you going, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe that. Why didn't I do this? Oh my God, my life is this way because of this person. That goes into victim mentality. You blaming someone, okay? You blaming someone is never going to give you the lesson. Because all you're doing is living in the why did this person do this? Why was I not good enough? Why is this person doing those things? You're never going to know the answer to that question. And even if somebody gave you their legitimate reason, it may not be enough for you. You might be like, well, that's stupid, or why didn't you tell me? Or I could have changed it. No, we're not going to have you morphing into somebody else's role for you. Now we go into codependency, hard pass. But somebody else's why may not give you that benefit in which you seek. I've had so many clients say to me, well, somebody told me the straight up truth and I didn't like it. Well, okay. And they're like, yeah, and I remembered what you said. I may not like what I'm told. Well, that's right. Be careful what you ask for. You might get it. So if you ask for somebody's why and then it's a why that you don't like, now you're sitting in judgment on it. Again, you're not learning any lesson. You're not even allowing the why to be a real why. Same thing with an apology. You do not need an apology to heal. I promise you don't. Not to heal. You don't. Maybe in your mind, if you want to maintain a relationship with them, you feel as though you need one, but you don't need one to heal. So if you're blaming someone in this regret, like, I can't believe that they did this to me. Why didn't I see this? Well, okay. Again, like I said before, you may not have had that knowledge. You may have been blinded by narcissism or something that they have done, or you might have been in a low point and you had a trauma bond with somebody. Why would you blame yourself for that? Stop doing that. You can't blame yourself for falling into a relationship with a narcissist and then blame yourself like there's something wrong with you. No, you have to remember it's not your fault. So you learn the lesson and you learn what it's teaching you, and then you learn more about yourself in that process. So now we're taking away the blame, right? So you're feeling your feelings. You're not obsessing on it because what's happened has happened. And if it involved another person, you're accepting that, hey, you're never going to maybe get that resolve that you seek. So what lesson did you learn without being all like, well, I learned never to have a relationship? No, you're not feeling, no, you're doing that weird thing with control. No, we're not doing black and white all thinking. Number 4, are you being kind to yourself? Why are you being so hard on yourself? Okay, I want you to do this analogy. Okay, I want you to take someone who you love dearly in your life. I mean dearly. Mom, spouse, kid, I don't know. Somebody who you just, wow, you're just so connected. Okay, I didn't say codependent, I said connected. And I want you to have a conversation in your head with them for here, just a second. They've come to you, right? I want you to think of whatever your regret is or whatever way that you're talking to yourself. And I want you to imagine them coming to you and they're having this conversation with you and you really hear them driving themselves into the ground. They're really like self-loathing and they're saying how terrible they are. Okay. Are you going to be like, yes, yep, you are? Or are you going to be like, oh my God, wait, I'm going to need you to be a little bit more compassionate. Like, let's just work through this. Like, are you going to be understanding? Are you going to give them grace? Yeah. Then why would you not do that to yourself? Why would you not do that to yourself? Yes, I want you to be kind, loving, and caring and of service to everyone around you, but not before yourself. You have to be your biggest priority. So if you're willing to give this person who you love so much, this much grace and not you, that is a sign that you are lacking so much self-love. If you wanted to know, hey, do I love myself? That's a good benchmarker. Are you willing to give everybody else grace, but you're not willing to give yourself grace because you think you're supposed to be in some perfection world that doesn't exist? And oh my God, I should have known better. Oh my God, wish I was smarter. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Is that where we are? Then you know that you're lacking the self-love. Book a session ASAP with me because we got to get you through there. Because until you can get that self-love and kindness for yourself and compassion, everything else is going to be really hard for you to achieve because you're not using yourself as that foundation. You have to be the foundation of self-love. Okay. Now, what does that mean? This is a good part of it's a distraction, but not like an unhealthy distraction. Get yourself involved with something that you feel good about doing. For me, it's crochet. It could be, I don't know, painting for you. It could be cooking. It could be, there's a combination of things that it could be for you. But find something that makes you feel good about yourself. And if you don't know what that is, try everything. But be clear on what your expectations are. You're not just going to crochet once or cook once and be like, oh my God, I feel so good. No. And sometimes you want to throw that yarn across and the needle across the room and you burn something and you do. It's not going to be perfect. But something that you know that you're learning. When you see yourself learning, you give yourself compassion. In turn, it gives you opportunity to learn in other areas. So that's the healthy one. This one is big. This is number 6. Patience, baby. Your patience in healing. The problem that you have when you're not giving yourself grace is, I don't understand. Like, why can't I just get over this? Well, because you still don't love yourself. And now you want that instant fix. This goes with your resentments. This goes with self-love. This goes with your healing. This goes with couples counseling. This goes with everything. If you keep trying to rush a process, I should be feeling better. I've been on this medicine now for 10 weeks. Like, why am I not feeling better? Because you're trying to put this expectation on all of a sudden, I can process everything easy. I feel so much better. Like, you got to stop with that. Healing and converting a regret to a lesson can take you some time because it takes lowering your ego. Lowering your ego comes from self-love. You can't have self-love and live in a negative ego. It just doesn't live in the same world. So you got to be patient with yourself. Okay, so if you've obsessed a little bit today, you don't go, what's wrong with me? I've been trying to heal for so long and now here I am obsessing. And yeah, you're normal. You're abnormally normal because that's how we all are as humans. And then, that goes hand in hand with number 7. And that is, what kind of goals do you have for yourself? We know what happened in the past. Regrets are in the past. You don't have regrets in the future because that's not real. Like, it hasn't happened. So you're not staying mindful. You're not staying present. You're living in some past time that you're never going to get back. I don't care how much you refuse to accept it. I don't care how much you hate it. None of that matters because it is what it is. It is what it is. So what are your goals? Now, let's say it was something that you feel like, oh my God, I have so much regret for that. Okay. So we know we're not going to beat up yourself. And you're going to learn whatever lessons that's there. And so the goals are, and make them realistic. Hey, you know what? I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start poetry. I'm going to start painting. I'm going to do something that's really going to be good for me. Yeah, you're allowed to reward yourself. Yep, you are. I don't care what it has been done, what you have done. You are not all bad. You're not all good, but you're also not all bad. Okay? So you got to stop with persecuting yourself and throwing yourself on the cross. What would you do if it was somebody you loved? All right. So that's what you got to go through. And then, of course, number 8 is, work it out with me. Work it out with somebody. Right? There is a process. And until you're really ready to accept that what has happened, you can't change it regardless of how angry you are. Now you're ready to do the work. So now let's talk about why you may want to do the work. Not just to free you up mentally. I want to talk to you about the physical implications of holding to that stress, and not stress of just regular stress, full-on regrets, looping on that full-on regrets. Of course, we know it causes depression, right? Depression, anxiety, all of those things. It can mess your focus up. I mean, it can screw that focus up so bad. Imagine you feel like, oh my God, I did this person wrong. It's not nobody you work with. It's just somebody in your family. Now you have to go to work. And this is lingering on your head. Why didn't you do this? Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're a bad person. Oh my God. And meanwhile, you're supposed to be working. You're supposed to be at school. You're supposed to be doing something. Your focus is completely gone. You're not learning a lesson by repeating it in your brain 800 times. All you're doing is putting yourself into a deeper, darker space. So your focus, right? Your focus goes off. So, we all need a little bit more focus in our life, right? Okay, so you have that. And of course, that goes to low self-esteem, which if you're living in a regret, that's a standard anyway, that you have low self-esteem because you're not allowing it to change. And It can absolutely affect your sleep. I mean, I don't think you need me to tell you that, right? When you're obsessing on something and you're ruminating on something that's out of your control, something that has already happened, and you go lay down in bed and your brain goes, hey, I want to talk to you about how terrible you are. And we're not going to go to sleep right now because you don't deserve sleep. Nope. I'm going to persecute you, and I'm going to talk to you about all these things that you could have done and all these things that you can't control going forward and how bad it's going to be. We are going to be super pessimistic. Come on, let's do this. So you're not sleeping. Well, we know without sleep, your body has to have sleep. A good night's sleep is a priceless thing. And, when you have depression and especially if you have any kind of a mood disorder, you got to get that sleep. So here you are, you're regretting, you're, like resentments of last week, going and going and going. You're not sleeping. Guess who that's hurting? You. You're not hurting anybody else. Now, you might be a nightmare to everybody else, but you're not hurting everybody else. It's something that you're doing. And the other side of that comes, it also creates helplessness and hopelessness. Oh my God, I can't control it. That's ego. If you feel so depleted because you feel like it's done and it's over and it's out of your control, and you have such a hard time of accepting that is also your ego. You got to watch that Ego Death series on my YouTube. It's free. Go out there and watch it. Okay? And you got to understand that. Now, what are some typical regrets people have? I could have went to school for something different. I should have had more education. Should have had less education. Why did I study this? I wasted $75,000. Why did I study it at all? Why didn't I go to a Okay, you're here now. Doesn't matter what you could have done. You're here now. Now, if you're like, oh, I needed more education, you're never too old for that. I'm always learning. I'm always taking a class in something or a certification in something. Or I need that in my life because it makes me feel good. I like it. I don't need it to prove to you guys anything. I like it for myself because I'm learning. You guys know, unless I'm hired to be a public speaker at a place where I'm supposed to have all of the knowledge, I want to walk into a room and know the least. I don't want to know the most. I want to learn from somebody. I want to constantly be learning. That makes me feel good because I know I never want to reach a point where I feel like I know everything, because I never will. Okay, so it's never too late for that. But if you're like, why did I go to school for this? Well, I mean, you're done. You have $75,000 in debt. I don't know what to tell you. You worrying about it isn't going to change it. Okay, relationships, big one. Oh my God, what was wrong with me? If I would have just stayed in that relationship, it would have been so good. Or the reverse. Why didn't I get out of that relationship? What's wrong with me? It was so stupid. Okay, but you're here now. Again, you got to process those feelings, right? Parenting is another big one. God knows, I could tell you a million different things I did wrong as a parent and still probably do. I still have a 15-year-old, and I mean, my other kids are grown, but doesn't make you less of a parent. But of course, but you're here now. Remember the whole secret of parenting. You want to screw your kids up 1/4 less than what you were screwed up. If you do that, bam, you're winning the game of parenting. Because regardless of how quote unquote perfect you think you're going to be, your kid may look at you and be like, you made my childhood hard. And you might be like, what are you talking about? But their perception isn't wrong to them. You don't have to like it. Okay? And so you have to understand that's a lot. And then financial, right? Your financials. Well, why did I buy this? Why didn't I buy that? Why did I do this? What if I'd have saved more money? What if I'd have played these lottery numbers? What if I'd have done these things? You see what I'm saying? All of which are typical places to have regrets in. Conversation, right? This is big with people who have social anxiety. Oh my God, why did I go there and just stand there and not say anything when they talk to me? Why did I do this? Or why didn't I say this? Okay, you didn't. It's okay. You don't have to be the life of the party. You don't have to be everybody's little robot, like magic little robot that they talk to and you go, yes, this is what I do. Yes, oh my God, I love this so much. You're a human being. So you got to stop with the regrets of that, right? Because I need you to understand that until you can release the regrets and allow the lesson, you will never develop and change. Okay, I want to repeat that so you can really understand that. In order to develop and change, you have to first accept that whatever that regret is has happened, evaluate it, feel it. What is in your role? What position, what place did you play in whatever this regret is? What lesson was there to learn? We're not going to keep it as a regret. You don't have any regrets. No regrets, baby. Because the regrets are now lessons. So they might have started as a regret, then they developed into a lesson. In turn, it starts to change your behavior. But if you just live in a regret, I should have spent more time with mom. I should have said this more. You can't see it. You're not going to develop and change because you're not going to allow that to happen. You're not going to allow it to happen because now that means that you also have to accept the unknown. And then that becomes a problem for you. So let's talk about where in your energy center, you know I do energy work. It's obviously your heart chakra. So I promise you, I have a whole podcast coming out on like chakras, what that looks like, energy work. It might be over on Patreon though. I think it is going to be on Patreon. I have it scheduled for there. And your heart center, you know how like you're like, my heart feels heavy, all of those things. That's the energy in your heart. So when you're holding these regrets, it's heavy on your heart. And did you know this? Talking about physical, it can create, like I said, depression. It can enhance heart disease. You heard me. Your stress levels on regret can literally expand on heart disease, right? Because your mind, body, spirit, it's all connected. All right. Now, guilt and shame don't live in the heart. Guilt and shame live in the sacral. Okay. That's like near like where your solar plexus is. They're kind of like side by side. But so they live in different places. And that's where you're like, I feel so guilty. It's in my stomach. You know how you're like, oh my God, everything I do is like, I feel like I'm going to be nauseous. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Yeah, that's because it's in your energy field. It doesn't just go away because you want it to go away. And you could get Reiki all day long. I do Reiki. You could do Reiki all day long. Well, if you're not doing the work, it's just going to clog itself back up. Like it's not one and done, right? So you have to understand that you not holding on to this, you not letting this go and you holding on to it and you obsessing and you living in this regret and living in this resentment that we talked about last week and not letting go of it, you are creating health problems. So what you're trying to avoid by feeling some level of control and beating yourself up and getting angry at yourself and feeling terrible and blaming other people and being miserable, it is creating health issues, or it's predisposing you to them. And especially if you already have something going on. Energy doesn't lie. I don't care how much you try to lie to yourself. I don't care if you say, I'm good, I'm fine. Your energy does not lie. Your energy does not lie. Your energy, you can't dupe your energy under any circumstances. You're not going to lie to your energy. Your energy isn't going to go, oh, I guess we're fine now. Because you cannot outrun you. Anywhere you go, there you are. Yes, you are a human being. You have got to be more empathetic to yourself. The beautiful thing about not being perfect, because it doesn't exist, number one, is, and I've said this before, if perfection was real, oh my God, you'd be a lonely person. You think you're lonely now, you'd be definitely lonely because you'd be a nightmare too. You'd be judging everybody. You'd be, oh my God, but I'm perfect. Oh my God, you would be a total nightmare. Be glad that you're not perfect because you're striving for some existence that does not have, I don't care how you spin it. I don't care who you talk to. There is no set parameter behind perfectionism. So you got to get married to the unknown. I have a podcast coming out on really radical acceptance is my best friend. I teach it. It's a huge foundation of my practice because things really are what they are. And the more you avoid the unknown and feel like you need to control, the less you will live and the more you will stay in regret. So yes, not accepting the unknown, which is future, does lead to regrets every day that you live your life. Because you're regretting something in the past. So do you see how they kind of all go hand in hand? So I want you to get very clear in the fact that a few things. Number one, you can't control the past or the future. You can't control people. You can't control their responses. You can't control the actions of what you could have done. You can't control the words that you could have said. Going forward, you can develop and you can change. But there's no scenario where you develop and change and you hold grudges. Holding a grudge is not developing, right? That's staying stuck. Holding grudges against others or yourself, because it's not just about other people, it's also about you. Holding grudges, living in the past, coulda, shoulda, woulda, staying in a victim mentality. All of those things are going to create regret And all of those things are going to prevent development and change. So then when you go, well, why can't I just why does all these things happen? Why can't I just see the way out? Because you're not looking for the opportunity. You're looking for the hole in the bottom of the boat. You're not looking oh, when I get in this boat, I'm going to get to the other side and it's a really pretty town over there. No, you're what if I get in this boat and the boat sinks? Oh my God, there's a hole in the boat. Oh my God, what if it sinks? Okay, why? What? To think what if it sinks isn't going to repair the hole. So you got to get very clear in what you're focusing on. And to live in that regret, live in resentment, live in grudges, you are not loving yourself. You're not accepting that the only human on this planet that you have control over is yourself, your mindset. Your mindset is in your control. Your responses are in your control. Your actions are in your control. Everybody else is not in your control. And when you accept that, that makes accepting anything that you may regret that somebody else did so much easier. So I think that's where I want to leave you, because you have some good thinking to do. You have a little call to action here. Your little call to action is to really start evaluating what you're regretting, and why are you resistant in learning the lesson? What are you gaining from? Because you're gaining. You're getting something out of this self-loathing. You are getting, that's right, you heard me say it. You are getting something out of beating yourself up. Analyze what that is. Why are you willing to persecute yourself, but you're not willing to love yourself? And I don't think you're going to answer it in a day. I don't think you're going to answer it into a week. But what you don't want to do is wake up one day at 85 with regrets of not living at all. Check it out.